Greetings! In today's video, we have some watercolor news to talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is this new release from the Rosa Gallery watercolor range. They have added 10 colors to their range, which makes it a grand total of 90 colors at this point. The new releases include 1 shimmer or metallic color, 4 smooth colors, and 5 granulating colors. These same 10 colors, there is 1 that's a mica color, obviously the shimmery one. 3 are single pigment, and 6 are mixes. I will go through the colors briefly. I haven't seen them in person yet. I know they've been available in some places for a while, but still, they're not as commonly spread out yet as the other colors are. So we have Prussian blue, which is our good old pigment PB27. This one seems like a really beautiful color. The swatch looks like it has a really great mass tone and a hue that is generally consistent with what we'd expect from a PB27. Second color is Royal Green. This one is a mix of PB15 column 3 and PR101. It's a really interesting muted deep green. It's really intriguing because if you look at the colors that makes it, it's made from a blue and a muted red. So I'm really eager to see just how these colors play together. It's hard to say about potential granulation because the PR101 in there can be either a granulating color or a smooth color. But the swatch looks smooth, so that would be my expectations. Hopefully I'll get to see it in person eventually. Then we have Burgundy Red, pigment PR177. It is a deep, cool red that looks really transparent and really deep in the mass tone. Then we have Royal Blue, pigment PB1. It's their second color named Royal Blue. I think there's some sort of mix-up in translation here. The previous color that was named Royal Blue should probably be something like Royal Blue Light, and this one would be just Royal Blue. It would fit with the colors we usually associate with this name, and Royal Blue Light would fit with the other color. Anyway, this color is beautiful. It's deep and transparent. It's a really nice blue color. I'm also really excited to swatch it. It's not a very common color. Then we get into some of the granulating colors. We have Cobalt Brown, which is a mix of PG26 and PR108. So PG26 is Cobalt Chromite Green, which is a beautiful granulating deep muted green. And then PR108 is Cadmium Red. It can vary in hue, but generally it's a granulating opaque red color. It looks like a really fun and very textured mix. You can really see the separation of the two pigments, and that's usually really fun to paint with. Then we have Violet Quartz. This one has 3 pigments, so we have PR177, PB29, and PV3. PR177 is the burgundy red we saw just a few moments ago. PB29 is ultramarine blue, and PV3 is methyl violet, a transparent but somewhat fugitive color. It makes for a really beautiful mix. The ultramarine blue brings all the texture, while the other two are transparent and smooth, so when they separate, you have this undertone of purple and reddish violet, but also this deep blue granulation texture. The following one is Green Quartz. It is a mix of PB29, PG26, and PY150. This is probably the one I'm the most excited about. I've really been into greens generally, and this one, the swatch looks amazing. It is made from 3 light-fast pigments, so you have a granulating blue and a granulating green, and then a transparent yellow. So you end up with this really textured, really rich color, and there's a lot of play with the pigments here because you have 2 pigments that granulate that can play off each other, and then also the yellow undertone. Depending on how the granulation settles on it, you get this really rich effect. Our next color is Nightfall Violet. It is a mix of PG26, PR101, and PB29. 3 pigments, all light fast for this one as well. All 3 have a granulation potential on their own. It really depends on how these specific pigments were molded for this mix. So you kind of have to see a swatch in person or to play with the paint in person to really know what's going to happen. But the resulting mix is a really nice muted warm purple color with a lot of texture and variation in the color. Our second to last color is Carbon Yellow. I think this one is really interesting. It is a mix of 3 pigments, PBK7, PY150, and PR101. It is a really interesting mix in the sense that we don't get a lot of darkly granulating yellow-black color. We've all seen transparent yellow with Mars Black, but that's very visibly 2 effects happening on the paper, the undertone and the granulation. For this one, the mix is a bit more cohesive, if that makes sense. You you have a color that's so very dark in the mass tone, it is almost like a warm black. But then when you dilute it, you see this transparent yellow really come through, and the dark granulation settles and adds a lot of texture to the color. These three pigments are light fast. Two of them are possibly more opaque and granulating, and one, the yellow, is generally always transparent and smooth. Finally, last color. This is the shimmery color, the bronze color. It is made from mica. I know that these colors are often referred to as metallic. I don't feel that's doing them any justice, but it is a really nice shimmery color. It looks especially good on dark paper, I gotta say. They previously had silver and gold in the range, so this adds a third FX color to the whole selection. Now to quickly go over these colors again, there's three of them, Prussian blue, royal blue, and burgundy red, that have varying levels of light fastness as a general pigment in watercolor. They would have to be tested to know for sure, but there's always a bit of variation with the way direct sunlight will affect the paints. Sometimes the mass tone will be fine, but if you dilute the color, it's going to lose more of its pigmentation. And then sometimes it's not about losing pigmentation, but the colors will darken when exposed to direct sunlight. My rule of thumb regarding light fastness is to not really bother with it. I feel like we should probably focus more on just doing the art, and then the whole preservation, protection aspect is something different that comes after. But for the moment, while you're creating, I don't think it's, always helpful to worry about light fastness. So of the three pigments, Prussian blue PB27 tends to lighten when exposed to sun, but it can regain some of the lost color when out of the sun. Probably not if it gets really bleached by the sun, but yeah, it has this odd property that you can sort of revert some of the damage done by putting it anywhere that's out of the sun. The burgundy red PR177 darkens when in direct sunlight for a long time, and the royal blue PB1 also does that. Depending on your stance on light fastness of paint, that might be something to keep in mind, or if you're more like me, that's just something that is interesting to know, but that's not gonna influence how or what I paint. Overall, I'm really excited for the granulating mixes, all the colors, but especially the granulating mixes. They're a bit like magic, but in paint form, in my opinion. I'm really excited to get to swatch them at some point. I hope I get that chance, but yeah, really beautiful colors, so that's very inspiring. Next news item is the re-release of Sennelier's Extra Fine Gouache range. The way they present it, they really advertise it as being their new gouache. It's a sort of relaunch of the product. You can see the launch video on their Instagram, and there's a slightly longer video on YouTube. From all of these, you can learn that it's a new formulation that is created to be ultra matte and opaque. On YouTube, we can learn that they made this new gouache available 100 years after the original gouache formula was first developed by Gustave Sennelier. They say, and I quote, "Sennelier's Extra Fine Gouache is ultra matte. It has very high pigment concentration. The quality of the gum arabic and the recycled filler that compose it make it a product that combines the advantages of oil with those of acrylic." End of quote. The recycled filler they mention is mainly from recycled eggshells, apparently, which I think is pretty cool. This revamped range has 63 colors entirely redesigned and inspired by the colors of their Extra Fine watercolor range. There's apparently 42 colors in common between the two ranges. From what I understood, they did that so that you can really play with the opacity of a specific hue by either going more transparent with the watercolor, and then if you want more opaque, you can find a matching color in the gouache. They also said that the gouache range is available in 21 milliliters tubes, which is kind of standard, but also in jars. They have some colors, not all of them, but some of them are available in 100 milliliters jars, which is really not that common when it comes to professional gouache. Now, I haven't tried it, so I can't really impart any knowledge from personal experience, but I'd love to put the paint through the usual tests of rewettability, drying in a palette, layering, and all that. What we see in the video is really appealing, and it looks like it behaves really well, but that's fresh from the tube, so I don't know just how it is when you let it dry in a palette. Traditional gouache doesn't have the best reputation when it comes to drying in a palette. It tends to crack a lot, and it inevitably ends up contaminating the whole palette at some point. But yeah, their demonstration in the video, you see the blendability through re-wetting the previous layer is really interesting. And it's the characteristics that they associate with oil painting, but you can also see them lay down a really opaque stroke of white gouache over a teal turquoise layer, and it is so nice and opaque, which is the part that they say is more like acrylics. So definitely intriguing, not a priority per se, but I'm still really intrigued about them, and I am looking forward to trying them eventually. Now on their main website, there's only a page with the old formula and a different label. That's what I figured. If you look at their shop website, you can see the new gouache available. And I haven't really seen it at any of my regular online shops yet, but hopefully the places you know that stock Sennelier, there's a good chance they will also stock the gouache. Fingers crossed. Next thing on my list is a brief one. It's about these new colors from Holbein. So these are not really new colors introduced to their regular range of watercolor. What this is that they finally brought their ChromaShine and ChromaPearl FX paints to the watercolor range. You could find these as acrylics before in all sorts of viscosities, but they weren't part of the watercolor range until now. I'm kind of excited about this. I really like Holbein. I like shiny paints. This is both of those things, so really exciting. They look really good also in the photo. You can see that they have this richness in the color, like they seem to be color shifting a bit, like chameleon colors. I haven't found a lot of swatches of the watercolor paints version of these, but I'm really looking forward to seeing more of them. Now, I know that FX paints are always a bit harder to use in illustrations, but they are so much fun to look at, so it really makes you want to find a way to use them. At this point, I couldn't find any detailed info about these two ranges, but from the few swatches I've seen, the difference between the two seems to be that ChromaPearl is a more transparent, more interference kind of formula, and the ChromaShine colors seem to be much more opaque. Both of them seem to have color shifting characteristics, so they look really, really special. Really excited to see these. Speaking of exciting, this one is relatively fresh. Szmal has announced their new mini Urban Sketchers palette. It is a set of 8 half pans, and the palette is so cute. It looks to be a smaller tin that can house a total of about 12 half pans in 3 rows. So you have 4 half pan, 4 half pan, 4 half pans. The tin itself comes in 4 colors. We have pink, light blue, apricot, and gold. And the standard release of this set seems to come with 8 half pans, so you have room to add your favorite colors in there. But it comes with nickel azul gold, Aquarius orange, quinacridone red, French ultramarine, cobalt sea blue, autumn green, shadow violet, and burnt sienna brownish. These palettes are so cute. I cannot wait to try them out. This is so exciting, so very exciting. I'm especially eager to hold one in my hands to compare the size with the other palettes, but yeah, this is so much fun. Next, I want to talk about something that is not necessarily news, but a weird observation that I made recently. So I was doing some sort of brush inventory. I like to do this every few years to set aside some brush that I don't enjoy or don't use and set them up for sale. And when I do that, I always check out current prices for these brushes just to see a ballpark of what I could possibly sell them for. And I was doing that, and I saw one of the brushes that was priced at over $100. And I did a double take because there's no way that I paid $100 for a brush. No, I don't have that kind of money. So I did a bit of digging and found my old email receipt. And I saw that the price I paid for the brush was about a fourth of its current price or something like that, which makes a whole lot more sense considering my budget. So I was a bit stunned, and I kept looking at other brushes that I was setting aside and trying to compare their price that I paid back then to the current price. And I kept noticing a really significant increase in pricing. We're not talking about a few dollars, we're talking about double, triple the price that I paid, well, okay, almost 10 years ago. Most of these I bought in 2016 to 2018, possibly. So a few years have passed. I'm aware of that. And, inflation and all of that. But still, to go from a brush that cost me about $25 to a brush that now costs about $100, that's pretty hardcore. hair. I also know, if I remember right, that there was a moment in time within those years where they had a really hard time sourcing natural hair for brushes, so that would contribute to a price increase. But when I was doing my research about this, I saw that the synthetic brushes had also increased in price significantly. So it's not just the difficulty in sourcing natural hair, because the synthetic brushes don't really have that problem. Basically, I'm bringing this up just to say, take care of your brushes, folks, because it is not as easy to replace them as it once was. You cannot necessarily say, oh, I'm gonna ruin this one and just buy another one. It might be a good idea to keep a few brushes that you use for, rough work, like swatching, where you have a lot of action of digging in a pan and then painting on paper. So just be mindful of that. And finally, a little bit of cat news. Okay, this is not art supplies. This is not watercolor related, but when I saw this, I literally had to share with everyone I know. And that means you too. So they figured out a quote-unquote new coloring of cat coat. It's a specific coloring that was discovered a few years ago, but they just finished studying why that specific coat color happens, like the genetic reason for this coloring. They named it salty licorice, or salmiak. I don't know how to say that, I'm sorry. There's not a lot of photos available, but look, the coat, the color is so pretty. It's such a beautiful effect. I love it so much. I'm fascinated. The genetics of cat coats and cat colorings is something that I find absolutely fascinating. So when I saw that, I was all over it. That's it for this little news episode. I will keep putting aside watercolor news, and when I have a little list, I'll make a new episode. So keep an eye out for more, and we will see each other in a future news episode or next week for the video and the live stream. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.